Natalia, you
Yes.
ready? Sorry, I'm just, lots of things happening all at once. So, there are firefights happening that you don't see, and that's okay. We keep them hidden that way. Thank you all for being here. And I think many of you have been part of the action group, but I think some of you are new to the action group, so it's nice to see you here. You all know Natalia, our wonderful senior expert, lead expert. And this group has been running for, 11 years now? 12? Something like that?
Yes.
Since 2013, I think, right?
Yes.
And so it's arguably not arguably, I think it is the oldest existing organizational entity that's been focused specifically on climate adaptation and resilience and so on within the inclusive finance sector. We've been, so if you think about things that you might know on climate, like the SPTF Dimension 7, that started with this group. Most of the sources started here. So there's a lot of history here, and we wanted to continue. We don't just want to be a historical dinosaur. We wanted to continue forward. You've probably not seen me as part of this group because we have a change in staff, and so I picked this up earlier this year, but you'll be seeing a bit more of me going forward. All right, we also have a bunch of folks joining us online. I don't know how many we have, but can you all see us? I don't know if in the back, if you can just show who's online, if there's anybody. Est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un online aujourd'hui? I don't know. I'm guessing, Ligia, you are there. I know that's, okay, there are some folks. I see at least one person. And Ligia. Okay. Justina from MFC. Good to see you. All right. All right, so maybe without further ado, we start. I'm going to maybe go back to my slides. We can show the slides. So just going to real quick review of what we're going to cover. Most of this is meant to be feedback from you. So we're going to go fairly quickly through the review part. So maybe a quick part of what we've done this year. You may have noticed that the name of the group has changed. It is now the Green Finance Action Group, mainly because it's a lot easier to say green finance than just to say green and inclusive and climate smart or whatever it was. I always used to get it wrong. So this is my fault that we changed it. Yes, so short is good, is the way I see it. And we've also put in place a new governance board. It's really an advisory board, I should say, not a governance board, but it is part of a governance structure that I've implemented where it's really very different from the other action groups. It's the first one to be restructured this way, where it's led by e-MFP itself, not by the co-heads as we used to have. And also, we sort of have an advisory body that's part of the governing board. And we have, you see the list of the advisory board members of the institutions, at least, that are part of it here. And so it's something that we want to continue to create a sense of both feedback from the sector, so we know that what we're doing is relevant, but also give it some ongoing continuity and not be always relying. The thing is, with co-heads, it depends if a person is free or not, and it's not the best way to do it for the long term. So that's that. We did a bunch of trainings. I think some of you might have taken part of this. I know Davide over here, our other lead expert, and Natalia were leading the trainings. That was earlier this year. Quite good attendance. We plan to probably do some more of this next year as well. We'll go through that. There are also pilots happening on the use of the Green Index 3.0 that Natalia will talk about a little bit more later. So we did those, and those are still ongoing. The green map is there. Can I ask a question? How many of you know of the green map? 1, 2, okay, it's about close to half. Close to half of you know of the green map. When was the last time you used it? When was the last time you consulted the, well, let me rephrase it. Have any of you consulted the green map this year in 2025? Your team has. Okay. Okay, good. all right, one person. I think it's sort of something that we're sensing is the tool is a little aging. You know, it's not necessarily as up to date as it needs to be. We will talk about that. Green Index 3.0, Natalia. I think this would be oh, I didn't.
Yes.
The old slides aren't. Do you need the new slides? Because
Yes.
I put them on Airtable, and how much do you need them? Can you improvise?
I can read them from my.
No, okay. Can we, because I loaded them on, guys, hello, monsieur, sur Airtable, il y a des nouvelles, vous pouvez changer le PowerPoint sur le PowerPoint en Airtable. C'est directement ici, si vous n'avez pas changé. Vous avez une clé ou quelque chose? Non, non, mais, ok. Vous pouvez charger les nouvelles slides ici. Parce que j'ai placé sur Airtable il y a une heure. Désolé.
Thank you, Dana.
This is why we do this in the morning meetings. You get the kinks out. That's the idea. So that when you have the plenaries and so on, it's like, oh, these guys are smooth. It's like, yeah, because you weren't there in the morning. So when you're in the morning, you see. Anyway, we'll get this going. But Natalia will maybe spend 5 minutes or so on Green Index to kind of give you an idea, an update. And after that, we'll talk about where we want to go. And I really wanted to get you, so while those slides are being loaded, how many of you are familiar with Green Index?
Yeah.
Okay, about the same number, but some of you are not paying attention. I think most of you know Green Index. Same question, how many of you used the Green Index this year? Merci. Okay, at least two. Okay, all right. How many used Dimension 7 this year? 1, 2, same, and of course. Okay, I think you guys get used more, but anyway. So that's one of the questions to explore. Now, this is yours.
Yes.
There you go.
Because I see also some students, and it's good to also introduce the tools that we have been developing from the green, at the time, from the Green Inclusive Climate Smart Finance Action Group. We have developed since 2013, we posed the question, what are microfinance doing in terms of environment protection? It came from, we were before a small group, there were researchers, there was the research from Mariana Lee, where we had this gathering of the different experiences from microfinance institutions and saying it's not only the energy loans that some institutions had coming from Southeast Asia, which was how this topic was launched into the sector. So the Green Index, initially a set of 10, 12 questions that we gathered in terms of having a strategy, procedures in terms of risk management, and then what type of products. It had evolved over time now in its third version. During these versions, imagine this set of questions from an Excel table, then being implemented with different financial service providers. Then CERIS implemented this tool as an optional tool for the institutions to fill out in their assessment, in their auditing. And when we saw there is already a momentum, there has been already experiences, institutions are doing much more than those 12 questions, then let's think about this update. And in the meantime, CERIS SPTF joined, and we're also seeing this evolution and considered developing this Dimension 7 as a mandatory dimension within the universal standards. In this evolution, so we gathered the feedback from FSPs, from impact investors, from academia, from consultants. We had more than 300 stakeholders participating, resulting in a very detailed, immense list of indicators, not as yes, we're doing that, or not that much, but rather is what are the full variety of actions that institutions are implementing. And then in terms of aligning the tools also with the Dimension 7, what we did was identify those key activities that will be pictured from the dimension 7, and in the dimension 7, it will be in the same format as the other universal standards, with a yes, no, partially response. So, just to give you the big picture, in the dimension 7, you have this overview. Once an institution does this assessment, it's a picture of this, what are they doing, where do they stand? And it will be monitored over time so the institutions can see the progress. With the green index, we left the two versions, a full version, including quantitative and qualitative indicators, and a light version, also aligned to the dimension 7, so that institutions can also share the results with CERIS, SPTF, and also Atlas. So when institutions decide in developing their environmental performance, their environmental strategy, conducting the green index gives them the possibility to decide on the set of indicators to follow, get inspired from other types of actions, follow very in detail what can they do in terms of environment protection, climate adaptation, climate mitigation, climate resilience, and define in the full breadth scope what can they do. With this, so giving you this intro, so the Excel table was then impossible to implement, we developed a digital tool so that institutions can fill out directly their assessment online. This digital tool is for free. It's an open source software. It means that they can download the code, install within their institutions, and fill out the assessment, or they can receive a link from e-MFP and then get a basic assessment. So this digital tool is this web interface for the self-reporting guided assessment. It is based on this open source software, data collection with ODK. It is available in different languages, so far in English, Spanish, French, Arabic, Georgian, Albanian, and it can be further translated in other languages. And it's very dynamic with multiple choices, with the full menus. You can navigate all over, but you cannot fill out, close, and then reopen, but rather fill out at once. And it has these two different versions and has optional set of more than 100 quantitative indicators. With these links, we have the two for management and for loan officers. It's free usage. You can submit data and are gathered in the global database with a server from e-MFP. And upon request, we can do this unique link for the institution with a user login in the data platform, with a check and revision of the individual submissions and individual user agreement to be signed with e-MFP. So an institution, impact investor, consultant, anyone that would like to implement and have also this automated reporting can sign this with e-MFP. And from our side, from Edera, as IT and data management partner of e-MFP, we provide this support. So since 2022, we have more than 30 financial institutions completing this self-reporting tool using the e-MFP digital tool, and we have a dedicated database for the action group members. So far, we have signed with consultant John Maishak with 3 institutions in Africa and Asia, with ADA with 5 institutions in Africa, and with GAWA Capital, 6 institutions in Latin America, with a plan of 25 institutions in the upcoming years. From our side, so one thing is the data collection, and the other thing is once you have the full data collection, you can whether save the PDF with all the responses, but at the same time you want to have like the full overview of the diamond, where do we stand in terms of our results and how does it look like first impression? Are we in which axis of action are we stronger? From our side, we have done an automated data processing to represent like the results on environmental performance, the breakdown across the indicators, risk management, and green opportunities view, and it's provided as complementary free service using the e-MFP digital tool, and can be updated, customized if needed, and is basis for detailed and custom reports in individual assessment and training, and like it looks a little bit like this. Tomorrow, we will have a session at 10:45 with CARE International UK, where we are going to show the results of a community approach doing the training and assessment to the partner institutions from Blend with Care. And also I will show them the automated report, how it works. So immediate results once data is submitted. So that's...
Okay, you want to do the video a bit, or no, you just want to?
Okay, so for those
maybe, okay, up to you.
Yeah, in case you don't, it works like this. If I can,
There's no way
I don't
to
know
play
how
it.
to.
Okay, anyway, you will see, if you come to the session tomorrow,
Yes.
you'll have a full kind of review of what the tool looks like, and I think definitely would recommend you give it a go, and it's, I think, in the morning tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes, right after the plenary, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe we continue. I wanted to kind of use the rest of the time to get your thoughts. What would you like this group to focus on going forward? What kind of improvements can we make? Just to give you an idea, the kind of things we're thinking about, we had a meeting with the advisory board last week, which was the first meeting, and really a very good one with a lot of thoughts and feedback. And kind of our idea is to invest in the Green Index 3.0, make it more accessible, more user-friendly, just leverage what's there. It's not so much changing, but really making it bigger. And I think there's quite a bit of momentum, especially with the recent start of the investors using this. So you have ADA, you have GAWA, using this as a tool to work, to basically guide their investments and their work with their partners.
Yes.
This is, as I understand it. And so we're looking to sort of scale that up. We are thinking also of potentially updating the green map. It's one of the options. I'm not sure we can do it this year, or next year rather. But in any case, we recognize that having it with data that's older, these examples that's older, is going to become increasingly relevant. So either we have to update or we have to have some sort of plan to maintain its relevance going forward. We will be doing some webinars and so on that we've done, and that will continue. So those of you who are engaged that way will have it. We did a really interesting session with Red Camif last year, which went very well. We would like to do more of these things at conferences outside of Inclusive Finance 25 or 26 or 27, but conferences in the regions and in the countries. I think that would be something we would like to do. So that's the idea, but that gives you our thinking. What would you like to see? What are you thinking about? And also, Justina online, I don't know if there's more folks online who have joined since, but what would you like to see? Or just general comments, feedback on the kind of engagement that you've had with the action group or with its tools. And we have mics there, so just really don't be shy. I will call on you if you don't speak up. What do you guys think? Davide, you're not short for words, surely. You have ideas.
Okay, so I try to stimulate the discussion.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I see that someone has been using the green map, right? I see it's there. Yeah. What have you been missing there? Was not enough cases, not to the place, the region where you were looking for, not updated, or were just perfect for what you were looking for?
Well, I wasn't using it, but...
Can you give the mic to also to... Because that way online they can hear you. That's the...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my team in Latin America has been using it in terms of providing examples for the initial gap analysis, right? But that's definitely an area where I think once you find the gaps, that's the next step of going and finding out what more you could do. So the team that's involved in the initial assessments, as Natalia explained quite well, like on Dimension 7, it's an introductory light version, getting organizations started. And then when they decide they want to go further, we recommend the Green Index because you can dive much more deeply into the issues. So what I've heard is that they've used that in the initial trainings that they've had where they point out to it. But I can get you feedback directly from my team on what they thought about it. We did it both in Philippines and in Latin America.
Okay. And that was using Green Map and Green Index, or just one of those?
We didn't use the Green Index. We used
Just the Green Map?
Just the Green Map, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, indeed, I was wondering, because I don't know if we have in the Green Map all the good practices in both regions, for example. Yeah, because when we design it, we have some regions, certain practices, etc. Of course, there are good practices in Philippines, in Asia, in Africa, in Senegal. Yeah, it depends. And that's a way one who could imagine, to specialize. But if it is of need, for example, that would be. Or instead, you will say, no, look, if I find a good practice from wherever it is, I buy it. Yeah, that would be good feedback to know where to go, for example.
Great. Kathy, please.
Hi, thanks for bringing us together and everything. I'm Kathy, I'm with Kiva. We, this year, had a really fun partner convening in Uganda, where we brought together folks from the World Wildlife Foundation, a bunch of our MFI partners in Uganda, and it was all around green products for clients and client needs and the challenges of the providers. And what we found was that they knew a lot, but there was a dearth of opportunity, even within one country, for them to exchange. And I think particularly with the challenges of providing services that respond to climate vulnerability, because vulnerability looks so different and is so contextually dependent, I really am supportive of trying to build a presence and build panels in regional conferences for this topic, because I think that will spur a lot more activity outside of the activity that you're directly managing and participating in. And happy to, if we're present, happy to help organize, structure, find participants. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
We have Justina, I think, online. You have your hand up.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
I'm Justyna Pytkowska from Microfinance Center. For us, the Green Map is important because we would like to show our members what the others are doing, not only in our region, but also in the other regions of the world. And we have recently worked on identifying MFIs with green products all over the world and showing the differences between Europe, Central Asia, Latin America, and Africa. So for us, Green Map is important, not only in terms of the product offer, but also in terms of the approaches of the MFIs, practices within the MFIs. And secondly, trainings and exchanges are important for our members to learn how to work with clients, because the big issue is how to advise clients in terms of green transition. So that's a big part, developing the capacity of the clients to understand how to approach green transition, what solutions exist. And for that, MFIs also need support in training their staff to work with clients. So we would like to see more trainings for the MFI staff to develop their capacity and to support them in working with clients. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much, Justina. It was very helpful. Very helpful. Anyone else have some thoughts, feedback? I also, in the meantime, wanted... Okay, yes, in the back, please.
Because I'm very loud.
No, but it's also so that they can hear you online.
Okay.
That's why.
I'm Janita from Habitat for Humanity International. And when we talk about green transition and everything what is green, that is very strongly connected with residential sector and housing. If we talk about energy efficiency or renewable energy, even renewable energy is very important for housing sector. But I will stop here. I'm very curious to understand, maybe I misunderstood Green Index and tool that we have. But now in Europe, Balkan region, Caucasus, and these other sub-regions, we are under pressure for adopting ESG standards. And regulators also push financial sector to introduce and implement in their MIS system and start to collect data. Is there any clash between this green index and data collection that we have to do and ESG standards that we have in Europe? Or we can combine both?
You can, so in the green index, there is the dimension on environmental strategy, and in the environmental strategy, institutions are assessed whether they follow local regulations, if they are following specific taxonomies or lists or international regulations or national local regulations. They have to name those that they follow. And these activities, what we track is whether they are considering specific indicators, if they are publishing internally within the institution, if they are doing trainings with the board of directors, and then what we get is a full picture of how institutions are internally implementing their environmental strategy. However, it's not that with the green index results, then they can go to the regulator and say, hey, here is how we are. No, this is not compliance then to the local regulation. And the green index also helps the institutions to gather all these quantitative indicators that once you gather them, and then you can, we were discussing in the other room about all the list of indicators that you have to fill out then for the different reports with impact investors, regulators, and so on. Once they have them in one place, whether in different platforms, then they can drag from there and report efficiently to the others.
Good.
You're welcome.
Laura, do you have anything? Because I think you guys worked on this as well. Maybe just the mic too.
No, I have another question about
Okay.
the green
All right.
map. So when we were doing the work in the Philippines, I remember that a lot of the references and examples that we pulled from were from the ADA examples, which you
Yes.
said are part of your pilot. So is that part of the green map now as well? Did you integrate that? Because we've got a resource center that's connected
Yes.
to the standards where we refer to the green map, where we've
Yes.
referred to the ADA and MCPI cases. And then I'm wondering if the green map then incorporates all of that as well.
It's a little bit more. So then in the green map, what we have is data collected at institutional level. So we have a set of 50 institutions, and then with very detailed information of how did they do it, with whom, from when to when, how was the size, what were the objectives, and so on. And this can be downloaded as a full database. And then we have the projects where we say the different projects, whether from ADA, UNCTF, MEBA, Ecomicro. How were those projects? What were the objectives? Who participated? Size of funds, programs, so that also DFIs have an idea and scope. What does it take to promote these topics under different conditions? And then we have the case studies, where we selected some of those institutions that filled out that were consulted on their data. And in those case studies, we go more in depth and not describe already a narrative, how did they work. And what we wanted to portray is the different types of actions, not to say like there's only one way to do an environmental strategy, but how are those essential practices reflected from the different experiences. So if you filter by ADA or by Red Camif or the different stakeholders, you can find then the experiences or the institutions that participated.
Great. And Alan, do you know if you guys referred to the green map in your work? Or I know you created your own case studies that presumably are now the ones that are incorporated there, but not. but no, okay.
You could.
Okay.
Yes, it's open, it's for free.
But maybe that is one of the things to explore. I know you have not met our esteemed coordinator, Lihia, who is online, but it's also 4 o'clock in the morning, where she is. She prefers to stay incognito, but Lihia, if you want to share video, you're of course, very welcome to. But the question of aligning, or not so much aligning, bringing together the map and the index, where one is kind of more quantitative, the other one is more qualitative, and having be part of the bigger
Yes.
sort of offerings is something we're very sort of thinking about as you know, you get more if you than just going with one or the other, to make it and maybe as we're revising and reviewing the user experience as they start filling out, let's say, the green index, make it more accessible for them to also provide information that can then be stored in the green map and make the two more closely linked. That is something that we really need
And
to think
I'm
about.
thinking also how Cerissa's PTF, like linking, saying like here, see this resource, and then MFC using also examples, cases, we can also address MCPI and other microfinance networks, like at local, different countries, like this as a resource to see what are other experiences from the on green inclusive finance.
Yeah,
Now
exactly.
you wanted to comment on the
Self-reporting.
Self-reporting.
You mean for the map?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is, in fact, I believe that we have done this, and this is supposed to be launched like now, effectively. I think it's
Yes.
already live, right? It's going to be kind of a slow rollout. Lihia, jump in if you want to talk about it, because you know more about it than I do. This is true for anything in this group. But if you don't, I'm happy to do it. So basically, the idea is we've made, in the past, in order to have sort of an entry in the green map, it meant there was somebody else in the group or a consultant that was uploading that. And we're making this possible for institutions to do it themselves directly and upload it directly to the green map. And that's, I don't
So
know if
it
you
will
have more
be,
to add.
even if it's a also very detailed questionnaire, it's not an assessment. It's not that there will be a diamond or a results, or it will be benchmarked against, or it's only it's not quantitative indicator. It shouldn't be like an audit tool. It's rather, I want to be portrayed. I want to be also within this map that my experience is also public to the microfinance sector. And then also what we did together with Ligia was to update this tool so that we consider the latest standards or results like that have been published in this year from CGAP also on biodiversity, consider climate resilience, also gender lens, giving also more detailed indicators. And this will be also available soon in a digital version.
Yeah. So there's stuff happening. Yeah. Other thoughts? Yes, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Raymond from ULB. Just going through what the green index is all about, that's mitigating risks.
Nice.
So I'm just wondering what could be how do you mitigate risks associated with investing in emerging green technologies?
Yeah, in regards to the green index, how do you mitigate risk? So in the tool itself, it's not saying to you how to do it, but rather what are institutions doing in order to mitigate those risks, or if the institutions are considering actions in order to mitigate risks. So in the green index, we have different standards and 2 standards considering risk. One is on the identification and another one is on management. And we did this division of topics because the different microfinance institutions were doing several different processes. So once you fill out the tool, it is assessing what are you doing, with whom, if you are training the capacities, the skills of your staff in order to do it, and if you are using tools, or if you have partnerships, or if you have specific resources in order to do those practices. It means that it's not that there is one only way in order to mitigate specific environmental risks or climate risks, but rather is asking to the institutions and reflect, are you identifying those? Are you training your loan officers in this identification? What tools are you doing? Like, is it a one-shot market assessment, or is it systematically within your system? Do you have digital tools for that? Do you have a partnership? Is it local? How is it? How are you communicating this to your clients? And then, now that's on the identification. Then on the management, are you categorizing this? Are you doing specific processes? Are you, with those specific processes, is it like recommendations and then do you monitor? Or is it exclusion and then you don't come back again to the client? Are you using this information to shape your strategy? Or is it then to shape partnerships with investors or with technical assistance in order to manage those risks? And that's how the tool helps the institutions and think broader on those risk mitigation.
Thank you.
More thoughts, more ideas, questions? Don't feel, I mean, we've covered a lot, and it's, but we do have time, so if you have, or if you, Demet, please.
Thank you, Daniel. Well, I'm a little bit outsider on this, but I like the idea when you mentioned outreach activities. I think webinars, workshops, or from a colleague from the Microfinance Center mentioned capacity building, or any conferences would be very helpful, because this is the way we learn who is doing what exactly, and what went wrong, or what didn't go so well. Type of things can be discussed, and that will be useful to others. I think it's very useful way of doing, especially such subjects not very common yet. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and maybe just, I don't know if you mentioned, but in your case, it's specific, the work that you do is with regulators, right? The training of the regulators. So I don't know that we focus specifically on regulators, but I wonder if there is more that would be relevant to regulators.
What we have done is training with Alliance for Financial Inclusion.
Okay.
So with AFI, we have trained on the Green Index. So we give, now since its inception, since the creation of the Green Index, to share with the working group on inclusive green finance, they call it inclusive green finance, on what is the tool about, if it's useful for the financial institutions, the different standards that the tool has, because from their side, on the 4 Ps that they work in: provision, prevention, promotion, and protection, then they can think about policies that could help institutions that will be helping them in advancing in their strategy, risk management, and product offering. But I think more, even in the advisory board, we have AFI, and they are very keen and interested in seeing how can they better support their members. They have launched a toolkit for their regulators on how to further promote inclusive green finance for MSMEs recently. And they are open also to combine activities, agendas with us. It's very, well, the work with the Green Index has already some work.
12 years.
Sorry. But I mean, this
with AFI,
sharing with AFI and with the members has been has been in the past 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Yes, Al.
Yes, I'm Alan from the Microfinance Council of the Philippines. So you mentioned about regulation, and Daniel, you asked about what else can the working group do, right? So it can get a bit overwhelming from MFIs, where to situate everything that we do on green, And of course, on the regulator's perspective, in the Philippines, we have the central bank, we have the Securities and Exchange Commission. It's easier for them to understand on sustainability because that is a future requirement or a current requirement for financial service providers to report their sustainability initiatives. So I think what else can the working group can do is to situate all initiatives or initiatives in the sustainability context. I mean, sustainability reporting. I myself get overwhelmed with how to situate everything in this sustainability context or initiative or sustainability reporting, because there are global standards now on sustainability reporting.
Yeah, thank you for that insight. I think it's always the question, like how much should the regulators befriend the financial institutions? It's not that they can please everything that the financial institutions want, but from the regulators, we have seen launching of green taxonomies, of plans like in Egypt last year, presenting here about policies asking the institutions to have a team to report, to track indicators, not to say like what should those indicators be the results, but rather to have systems in place in order that this topic is relevant for them. And I think one idea from what you say would be to collect from the members what challenges have they had in terms of local regulations that have hindered their path on advancing in green inclusive finance, and then sharing this openly with the central banks or with AFI, and do that sort of exchange.
One question that I had actually, Alan, for you. So if I understand right, one of the things that you're highlighting is, okay, there's reporting that you have to do to your regulator. Yes. Some of it is reporting that you know is coming in the future, it's not necessarily now. And then there's reporting that's external to that, which is voluntary, but maybe an investor is requiring it, maybe it's not voluntary in that case, right? Which is things like, okay, do you have to submit the SPI, across all dimensions, dimension 7 being obviously on the climate sustainability, or are you working with an investor that's asking you to do one of your, not you, but one of the FSPs to do a green index report, as is the case, for example, with the investees of GAWA, because if, right? So I can, if I understand right, your concern is like that there isn't a single standard, is that it? Right, you're having to report across multiple standards. Okay, yeah. I mean, the one thing that maybe I would say, at least, well, we can't control what regulators do in different countries, and there is a very relevant question is which standards are the most important. Investors are sometimes looking for things that local regulators are not, and just and if you ask my sort of personal opinion, I would imagine there will be more of this going forward, not less, because within the investment finance sector, emphasis on green sustainability will probably become more relevant than just financial inclusion itself. I mean, there have been changes in the funding landscape itself that are kind of driving towards, maybe not, maybe that'll change, but anyway. But at least on our side, we are aligned with Dimension 7, or I should say the vice versa. Dimension 7 is aligned with the Green Index. So if you're reporting on, let's say, light version of the Green Index, that is 100% aligned with Dimension 7. That is, whereas, so the idea is the expanded version of Green Index is not meant to be reporting compliance. Hey, I'm doing X, Y, Z. I really, as an institution, really want to focus on improving my activities in this area. It's meant to guide you and give you sort of feedback as an institution. How am I doing in various places? Where should I focus? And it's not necessarily meant to be a compliance reporting. So it's quite a bit of a different objective. But I think in a broader sense, continuing our partnership with AFI, also Toronto Centre, could be something that when there is a Green Index 4.0, it's not anytime soon, it's definitely not next year. But when we get to that point, at some point we probably will. There's a reason why it's 3.0 now, right? It's not 1 or 2. trying to reflect a little bit of the changes that have happened in the regulatory space will probably be one of the inputs. That would be my guess. But for now, I hope that helps. Yeah. Davide, please.
Thank you. Now, I want to share some thought, because when we designed originally the Green Index, long ago, 10 years ago or more, we need to find our way through, no? What we are looking for is a tool, what we were looking for is a tool that will like to provide a framework globally and specific for the inclusive finance. That was basically what was missing. Now, to be specific for the inclusive finance is still key, because many of the regulation, etc., are not really covering this part or their clients, micro enterprise, small enterprise, etc. Then here, of course, we shoot a bit in our feet, say, okay, we do globally, and then globally is a risk that everything's fit all and fit nothing. Yeah? Because then if you really want to go in detail, I say, look me, I'm in Philippines, what do I care about the European stuff, for example, or the Senegalese one? Yeah? So question is, which role the Green Index should have? My personal view is that you should have a role where we are able to aggregate globally in a coherent framework how we should report and advance into the green inclusive finance. But then there should be an approach, a path, a guidelines of how various actors should appropriate about that so that will fit their purposes. So for example, I make an example. Now my main job is being the director of the Justice Institute. We work on biodiversity and climate change adaptation. And of course the Green Index covered this dimension. But it's not only this. So it means it can be quite out of focus when we just look into this specific scope. So what we did, we took the Green Index 3.0 and we say, look, how can we go more specific in what we need, still being compliance with the same framework? So that then, if someone wants to report on the Green Index, we can align with that and we can take the same framework. So I will invite anyone present here to say, okay, what is your scope to use green inclusive finance, your specific scope? And then use the Green Index to find the framework where this is coherent. Yeah, when you just find a way through to actually find your way. This is what I found most interesting for us. And in the way when I was focusing on developing the Green Index, I thought I was trying to push for, okay, how everyone can appropriate about that, how everyone can make it. This is a framework that everyone will be happy about it, but at the same time find a path for specialization. In other things is how can we progress? Because the Green Index, yes, gives you where you stay. Eventually, at a certain point, we collect some around 1,000 environmental assessment, so we have a sort of a benchmark. Now there are cases. How could you do? You can identify some gap, etc. But then, if you need to decide what you start and what you do first, yeah. For example, these are the things that I think the action group will look at. Okay, what are the key guidelines? Where I score low on this. Okay, what would you check if this should be your priority, for example? I don't know.
But it's always context-based.
Exactly.
There's
but
not
then
one way.
That could be per context or could be on general guidelines. For example, saying, look, I'm score low in being able to manage the climate risk or the climate vulnerability we just heard here. Okay, what should I look first? Should I shoot there? Or should I first of all look if, I'm able to identify what's the vulnerability of my client before start managing it, for example. So sort of, I don't know, that will be an idea from my side, the way how people can appropriate and specialize for their need, and then once they better understand their status, what are the key guidelines of what we need to look at to eventually progress, for example.
Great, thank you, David. Any other thoughts? Or shall we break for lunch, which is coming up quite soon? All right. Thank you so much for coming, for being here. Our AI has been working hard to take notes, and I hope you don't mind. But it's, like I said, this is meant for feedback, and I personally had heard a lot of things that were kind of changed the amount of emphasis on the green map was actually quite interesting, and sort of really to go back and see, okay, how do we incorporate this going forward? You'll probably be hearing more from the group early next year as we start sort of implementing whatever the plan we will settle on, and there will be more activities. And so those of you who are not members of the Green Action Group, Green Finance Action Group, and would like to become members, just talk to me. Or you can contact green@emfp.eu. It's quite straightforward. That's our esteemed Lee here, who is online. But that's, there are many ways to get in touch with us. But nice to see you here. I hope you're enjoying a wonderful start to the week. And we'll definitely see you around a lot. And the plenary will be back here in this very room. So those of you who know already know, but those of you who are new, it's this room, and that's going to be at 1 o'clock. So I hope to see all of you here in a little over an hour. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia.